All right, that's quite enough of all that. I know you guys hate all that music. English, I'm hurrying as fast as I can here, buddy. Unhappy Wednesday, everyone. Coming to you live once again from our humble abode here in Fairfield Township, Ohio. This is the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio and part of the Green Legion Radio family. We thank you for joining us tonight from wherever you may be and whatever service you're using to tune in. So, please, pull up a chair, turn up the volume, use the company dime if you're still stuck at work or working from home. Crack open a cold one if you've got the opportunity, and let's have some fun as we put an end to day 3 of this week's hostage situation. Look forward to tomorrow being Friday Eve. Well, you guys are jumping off already over here, aren't you? Great to see everybody in the room. Lou Mancini, Mike English, Andrew Bagley, Keenan Harmon, David Califoot in the room. All right. So, folks, let's get down to business real quick here. Russ Taylor, there he is. If you're tuning in on Facebook or Twitter, please do not forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the Green Legion. If those services are where you're most comfortable, we totally understand. Just also know that the best way to interact with us and with the other folks watching is on the YouTube channel. So, even if you're on Facebook or Twitter, head over to YouTube, search the Green Legion, subscribe, hit your little bell for notifications so you can get that notification every time one of our shows goes live. If you cannot catch our shows live, that's okay too. You can always watch or listen later on any of these services mentioned, but also on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. So, Bud Light Baseball Brunch keeps rolling on and on. I will talk that every single week on here. Bud Light Baseball Brunch with Greg Murphy and Chris Sack. You guys all know a couple of weeks ago I had the absolute honor and pleasure to be able to sit in on that when we were there in Philadelphia. The best Phillies talk out there, right? They give you an hour every Sunday from 11 a.m. to noon on 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler. You won't find better Phillies talk out there. Those two do an amazing job. Great guys, a lot of fun, ticket giveaways, and, I know that walk-off helped a bunch, but if that starts to slide back downhill going into the weekend, I think you're going to get a sack attack coming up here real soon. Just be fair warning. What else do we got here? Green Legion Invasions. You saw they're still advertising for Tampa Bay. We still have something open there for Tampa Bay. You'll have to go to the website to check that out. As far as I know, there are not many hotel rooms left, if there are any left at all. But there should still be game day packages as available. Head on over to trips.greenlegion.com. Click on that little thing for Tampa or whatever trip you want to go on. I just keep bringing up Tampa because that's the one that we're going to go on. And that's the one that Keenan's going to go on. And that's the one we keep razzing Lou to get involved in, although I think we'll back off him. I know he said he probably not going to be able to pull that off this year. But it is your opportunity to get out on what should be a really, really kick-ass road trip. It should be a victory. Tampa Bay, I can't imagine them doing much more than tank. But, if you can't get to Tampa Bay, we're also going to, and by we, I mean Green Legion, going to Los Angeles, Kansas City, Seattle, Dallas, as well as bus trips to D.C. against the Commodes and up to the Swamp in New York against both the Jets and the Giants. So jump on board. Do not wait, folks. I say it every week. We'll continue to say it every week. If you think you're going to get to within a couple of weeks of now I'm going to jump in, do not be surprised if you can't. And do not come crying to me. I'm not a big I told you so guy, but I will tell you, I told you so on that one. If you got a trip you're interested in, jump on it right away. And as always, Green Legion, the best way to do that. Whether you're out on the road for a Birds game or whether you're home looking for a tailgate, the Green Legion, always top shelf, always the best way to go. As far as us out here in Ohio, the Midwest Eagles Nest preseason rally will be on Saturday, September 2nd. That is Labor Day weekend. If I'm looking at the invites who have accepted so far and include significant others and possible kids, I think we're looking at about 30 people. Not bad to start the year. Would like to see that number push up, but we are going to start at 4 p.m. All right, I've adjusted for any of my folks out here that are watching, listening, or watching, listening later on. I have adjusted the kind of Facebook event thingy to 4 p.m. I had to put 2 p.m. for a placeholder. Mike and I spoke. 4 p.m. is when we'll kick that off. Still going to try to work on figuring out a way to get, maybe Super Bowl 52 playing, or maybe some highlights from last year. We'll work on something music-wise, TV-wise, or whatever. But this is going to be your opportunity for those of you that were not with us last year or couldn't come out much last year. This will be your opportunity to come meet some of the regulars, some of the original core that we started to build out here. Mike and Angie will hang around, I think, for a little while, but they will be getting ready to leave the country and on their honeymoon, whereas my fat rear end will be stuck sitting here with everyone else. So if you've got the means, head on out and meet up with us on that Saturday. Should be a good time. And you get to meet some folks, if you haven't already, face-to-face before the season starts the following weekend with a 4:25 kickoff at New England on Tom Brady Love Fest night, when I fully expect our Birds to waltz into Gillette Stadium and beat the ever-loving snot out of the Patriots. Yeah, that's the way we're looking at it. Okay, that takes care of that. What do we got going on over here? This room is jumping tonight. What y'all got going on over here? Russ Taylor, I have to know, where is the first place you're wearing the titties at? Let's see. Well, so the boys, my sons and I are heading to Toronto tomorrow morning. I mean, I may wear it in the car, may try to get away with it walking around, but we'll just have to see. I'm not quite sure what I can pull off. Maybe the next time the wife and I head out, I've already worn it like outside here. But maybe the next time the wife and I head out for a couple of drinks, maybe I'll throw that on. Brian Walden in the room. Lou Mancini, yes, you did. You won the tickets on Baseball Brunch this past Sunday. Congratulations. Mike English, Murph and Sack, Bud Light Baseball Brunch. Damn, Skippy. Keenan Harmon in Tampa this year, Walden. So, Brian, you're heading to Dallas, and Brian would also like everyone to know that baseball sucks. Mike English, I was just in Tampa, Clearwater for spring training. Good time. Yeah, beautiful down there. If I had to pick a spot that I was going to retire, if I ever am fortunate enough to retire, Tampa's probably my spot. I really like it over there. What else we got here? Mike English again. It's fun, and the Green Legion tailgate is a Steinbrenner. That's right. So that Tampa trip that I was mentioning before, our tailgate, 3 hours of tailgate, open bar, all you can eat at George M. Steinbrenner Field, pretty much directly across the street from Raymond James Stadium. You will have the opportunity for indoor or outdoor. So, if it's wicked hot or if a storm comes rolling through or whatever, we do have the ability to head inside. And in Florida, I'm sure all of you can certainly relate, that is absolute must. Especially only September. It's likely to still be pretty warm down there. Russ Taylor, I was wearing my titties hat and the bartender swiped my hat and took a picture with it. All right. So last week, folks, went really off the rails. I teased it for the show. We went kind of off the rails and was literally like the whole show was just talking about our trip to Philly. Don't get me wrong. I had a blast talking about it. But I certainly don't want to get wrapped up in that same sort of full hour doing that again. Do want to mention, like I said before, my sons and I are heading to Toronto tomorrow morning. We're leaving in the morning and heading up over the border. And that's to see a Blue Jays game. So we did a family trip to Philly where we worked in baseball, and now we're doing strictly baseball trip up to Toronto. Leave tomorrow morning. I only needed to get passport cards. Not just the card, not the book. I already have the book from when we went to Punta Cana with the Legion back in 2020. Boys just needed the cards. So we're going to head up there tomorrow. I wanted to do this trip when we first moved back up here from Tennessee. I wanted to do this trip in 2021, but Canada, they were still COVID crazy at the border. And there was this ArriveCan app. You had to fill out all this stuff. One of the things you had to fill out was your 2-week quarantine plan if for some reason you were in their country and you contracted COVID. Look, my plan going up to Toronto for this never involved more than like 36 hours in Canada. So to come up with a 2-week plan, hard pass. So we just kind of waited until it calmed down, and it has now. So I'm hoping we can just, get up to the board. We're going to take 75 up. We're going to cross at Detroit over into Windsor, Canada, and then out along the lake to Toronto. Air quality, I don't know. The fires aren't in Toronto, obviously, but you see what happens when the wind blows different here in the States. Our air quality gets bad, so I'm not sure what that's going to be like up there. But again, quick trip, okay? Some of it due to everything else we're doing this year. We took the family trip to Philly. The wife and I are doing Green Legion to Tampa. We're also paying for my son, Liam, to go on his 8th grade trip, which will happen in October, and that is a trip to Washington, D.C., where they are going to be hitting it hard there. So a lot of other stuff going on. So quick trip up to Canada. It is driving distance. It's only a 7-hour drive time. I don't know how long it's going to take to cross the border. I won't know until I get there. So along with that, just a side note on my son, Liam. This is the same kid that did the Respect for Law camp and Fairfield Police Department day camp for a week, and how proud we are of this young man. I got a call from one of the assistant principals at his middle school earlier this week, and his name was provided to her as someone who would be a good candidate for Camp Crossroads. Crossroads Middle School is his school. Camp Crossroads is something that is done for incoming 6th graders, where some of the kids who are going to be 8th graders tour them around the school. And, to get that phone call from the assistant principal was just, again, I could not be more proud of this kid. He's obviously making a really great impression on a lot of folks. So shout out to him again. He did a lemonade stand over this past weekend to try to earn some of his own spending money for the DC trip. And I had a couple of people who Venmo'd me. Incredibly gracious and generous donations to my son. I will keep them nameless on here just out of respect for them. But anyways, what we've got planned, we are driving up tomorrow. Again, no idea how long it's going to take to get there. Should be 7 hours drive time. I don't know, 45 minutes at the border, maybe an hour. So maybe it's 8 total. No idea. But we'll check in at the hotel and grab something to eat and probably chill. If we've got time, I may drive down into Toronto to just kind of see the lay of the land and where we're going to have to park, and then hotel, dinner, sleep. Friday is our day. Friday is our big day. We're going to the CN Tower at 9:30 in the morning, all right? CN Tower, we're going to go, it is 1,815 and a half feet tall. The main observation deck, which is where we'll be going, is 1,136 feet up. There is another deck called the Sky Pod, and that's where you're standing on a, it's not glass. You're standing on that, and there's a railing, and you lean out. But underneath of that is all glass coming up this way, and then glass going back over your head. That was about $10 more per head. The boys did not want to do it. They didn't want to be up that high looking out glass. I was fine with that. Then there is another portion of this thing called the Edge Walk, which hard pass for me. Real quick here, Andrew. Oh, never mind, Andrew. So they have this thing called an edge walk. This thing is 116 stories up, and you actually they hook up a harness to you, and the other end of it is hooked to the building, to the structure, and you step outside, and then you can kind of lean back, or they'll hook it to your back, and you can lean forward, and you are now leaning out over Toronto. You could not get me up that high leaning out over anything. I would poop everywhere. I would need a change of clothes for sure. Unless my life depended on it, you will never find me dangling out over a. No thanks. I'm good. But it's available there for all of you crazies who want to go and live life on the edge like that. Not for this guy. Okay. I literally can feel my feet tingling just talking about it. All right. It's just too high up for me. I'm not big on heights. I will go up to the observation deck and we'll look out the windows. It's like we do with the Sears Tower and all that stuff. So, yeah, I need to change the clothes after that. Anyways, after we're done there, we're going to walk towards the Hockey Hall of Fame. Grab something to eat, maybe just a quick sandwich or something, and then head to the Hockey Hall of Fame for the afternoon. Take in a lot of that. I have a friend of mine who is a Nashville musician, married to a woman who is a female hockey player. She actually has a puck or something that's in that Hall of Fame, and I need to get the information from before we head up. So I make sure I keep my eyes peeled for that because I think that's really cool. But yeah, I think we will spend a good few hours at the Hockey Hall of Fame. Stanley Cup there. Lord Stanley's Cup is there. It should be a good time. Doesn't need an explanation. Buying the tickets online, I also got a 10% discount at the gift shop. So I know where we're getting our shot glass and magnet souvenirs. I'll take the 10% off. Thank you very much. Should be mid-afternoon by the time we're done there. And then we will start walking back towards the Rogers Center, which is right next to the CN Tower. Again, something to eat. And then we're going to go to the Blue Jays game. And the Blue Jays are taking on the Angels this weekend. And guess who's pitching on Friday night for the Angels? As it stands right now, we are going to be in attendance to see Shohei Ohtani pitch on Friday night. So we're hoping that nothing changes there. With the trade deadline looming, I'm also hoping he doesn't get dealt anywhere. But we shall see. And then after that, it's the normal ballpark routine for us, right? Get there. They're giving away some stupid hat. I don't know what the hell it is. But we'll get that giveaway. I like free stuff, just like I did in Philly and Baltimore, right? Free stuff. I got a closet full of free stuff from a bunch of games that we've gone to. Hit the team store for our stamps in our passport, right? Stuffed animal for my daughter. Liam likes to collect pins from wherever we go. The ice cream sundaes in the Blue Jays mini helmets. Get the pictures with the statues, any kind of Blue Jays Hall of Fame, the sight lines and whatever else. And then we're definitely going to be taking in some baseball, especially with Shohei Ohtani on the mound. Once the game's over or the kids get exhausted and want to head out, it's back to the hotel, sleep, get up Saturday morning, and we drive home. And that's it. So really quick trip. That should wrap up our baseball stuff for the summer, for 2023. I can't rule out, if I get a wild hair up my rear end, to just grab them on a Saturday morning and blast on out to Washington, D.C. No sightseeing involved. Get there, go to the game, turn around, and drive back, just to try to knock out another ballpark. But we're pretty excited. My son is already packed. He was packed, I think, when I got home today. So Liam is ready to go. Grady is actually at work. He doesn't get off until 11 o'clock tonight. But this will be the next book we get, next stamp in the book. Where am I at here? I'm going to hold it up. It'll be right there somewhere. We took care of Baltimore and Philly a couple of weeks ago. So that's the trip. We're all very pumped up for it. All right. Before we hop on to, I like to share that stuff with all of you. You guys give me your time week in and week out, and I am incredibly humbled and appreciative. So I like to share what we're doing with you guys. And, always, if anybody's got advice for wherever we're heading to, I know some of you have traveled a bunch, feel free to drop in. I try to plan these things out really well, especially when it's the quick stuff like that. Not just the ball game, but we want to sample some of the local food. So in Toronto, it's going to be poutine. But then, landmarks or Hall of Fame or, whatever the case may be, a museum. Obviously, Philly was loaded with it. So, all right, let's jump back over here before we move on. Russ Taylor. Yes, sir. We are visiting the Hockey Hall of Fame, and I am excited for that. It should be. I'm looking forward to it, What else do we got here? Russ Taylor, remember they have dollar coins. So if you go to a place like you can throw dollars on stage and make it hail. Maybe that's where I should wear the titties at. Let's make it hail. Lou Mancini, you go, Liam. Damn right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Who else do we got here? That's Andrew getting. Andrew, you got a little over your skis on that one. I think the Phils don't first pitch for another. I think it's a little after 7. I want to say. I know English has got me on a timer tonight. So, Maria, that would be a hard no. I'm assuming you're talking about that skywalk thing. Yeah, I am not going out there. Go to Duff's Wings. I don't know, man. I got all kinds of recommendations, but we're going to park somewhere near the CN Tower and Rogers Center. CN Tower, then we're going to walk out to the Hockey Hall of Fame and walk back. So it's going to need to be something that's there, that's in that path there. We'll figure it out. There should be something. And if not, we'll maybe there's a street vendor or something quick, and then we'll grab our Toronto food while we're at the ballpark. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Keenan Harmon, I jumped out of a plane once. Mind you, it was a little Piper and was in the hangar. Yeah, no good reason to jump out of a perfectly good airplane, brother. Mike English, I wouldn't do any skywalks either. I already defied gravity enough 5 feet from sea level. Maria, making great memories with the family. Yes, absolutely. That's the idea. Who else we got here? Oh, Ashley's in the room. 305 Sports Babe. Have the best time. Thank you very much. Y'all, if I've got anybody out there listening who is a Dolphins fan, 305sportstravel.com. Give them a look. There's friends of ours, Ashley and Lou. And as their Dolphins travel, they are heading up to Canton, Ohio for induction weekend. And I believe that Monday immediately following, you're going to be in Cincinnati at a Reds game. So my idea, Ashley, is I am going to try to leave work and just meet you over there rather than coming home and then heading back down. From where I work, it's not easy to get to downtown, but if I come all the way home and then try to head down there, it's even worse. So we will get over there. Ashley, again, we're doing Progressive Field. We call that the Jake, sweetheart. Dodgers and Great American in the next few weeks, and of course, Lone Depot. All right, Andrew Bagley. What do we got here? Andrew Bagley. I'm in suburbs of Philly, and I'm watching the Phils right now. Okay. Maybe I was wrong on the start time. I didn't look. So that's probably why English is giving me shit. But here's English here. Anytime I travel, I find the closest dive bar. Yeah, dude. And if I was doing this with an adult trip, that would absolutely be on the list. But going with a 16-year-old and an almost 13-year-old, it's not a good look. Ashley, again, for Marlins versus Reds. Looking forward to finally meeting you. I feel like I've known you forever. Definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. I haven't seen Lou since Punta Cana, and I've never met you. So very much looking forward to that. I will get my fat rear end down to that ballpark. Okay, So, what else we teased with the show this week was, obviously training camp opened this week. I know it's like Christmas in July. It's that first kind of, all right, football season's almost here. In just over a week, you're going to get the Hall of Fame game. Preseason will be upon us, and we'll blink our eyes, and the season will be here. But the biggest story coming out of the NFL right now, and Ashley, you can definitely attest to this, is the running back situation. Devaluing of the running back, or whatever they want to call it. I'm putting the Streamyard link up now in case anyone wants to come in and discuss this topic with us. It's pretty huge. You think about the days, and it feels like not that long ago, but maybe it's longer ago than I'm thinking. But when you used to have, the running back was everything. Marshall Faulk, LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Alexander, Marshawn Lynch. The list goes on and on. Even back further, right? When you talk about Thurman Thomas and Roger Craig and your stud running backs, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton. The list goes on and on and on. But nowadays, with obviously the rule changes in the NFL are totally catered to protecting the quarterback. And the proof that a running back gets worked really, really hard, and that by the time they're 28 to 30 years old, they're pretty much washed, outside of a few. So So the focus has all gone to the passing game, right? I mean, if you don't hit a quarterback between like right here, between my chest and the bottom of my stomach, if you hit him anywhere outside of that, it's a penalty. That's what it feels like anyway, right? Pure blood, 100%. Damn right, backs for the shit. No kidding. But they. So it's all geared towards the passing game. Protect the quarterback. Quarterbacks are the biggest commodity. Quarterbacks is what everybody wants to see. Passing game and points and blah, 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 blah. They've made it incredibly difficult for defenses to be effective. Although, Eagles did their thing against quarterbacks last year, right? Anyways. The rule changes, all of that stuff. It's driven down the value of the running back position, coupled with, it's obvious. When these guys get to 30 years old, they're pretty much, they're worked. I struggle with the statement of the devaluing of the running back position. I think as a position or as a position group, there is still a tremendous amount of value, okay? I think what you're seeing is a devaluing of the individual running back. Your Derrick Henry type, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs. These are the guys we're talking about now, right? Henry got paid. Christian McCaffrey got paid. Todd Gurley a few years back got paid. And it was contracts like what went to Gurley and McCaffrey that really kind of dealt that death blow to the running back spot because they couldn't stay on the field. I mean, McCaffrey was on the field last year for the whole season in large part because he wasn't asked to carry the entire offense anymore, even though he's getting paid like a guy who should be doing that. So I still believe that teams need to be – I think the proof is there that you still need to be able to run the football effectively to climb to the top of that mountain. All right? You can't just sit back and say, I've got the best quarterback in the world, so I'm going to win. Now, I understand the Chiefs. I get it. And we're going to get to that in just a second. I disagree that the position group overall is devalued. And if you just take last season as an example, if you take a look at the NFC Championship game last year, all right, that's San Francisco at our Birds. The Eagles finished 5th in the NFL in rushing last year, and the 49ers were 7th. Okay? That's a huge reason why those two teams were there to play for a right to get to the Super Bowl, is because of the ground attack. All right? Think for a second if the Eagles had finished 15th or 18th in the league in rushing. Do you think we would have been in that position? A lot of what we did last year was being able to just pound. Now, we do have the best offensive line in the damn game. That doesn't hurt. But we still had to run the football. And we worked Miles Sanders, knowing that it was his last year. But along the way, going into the season, we didn't know what Jalen Hurts was going to be. By the midway point, we knew exactly what he was. We had our stud. And I think if you're a team that has that stud quarterback, you can get away with a running back by committee, right? So when I say RBBC, that's what I'm talking about. It's funny. Every time I comment that when Quimby is on, he never knows what the hell I'm talking about. I say RBBC, and you can see him read it and just kind of go, "If somebody can explain that shit to me, bro." But that's what I mean, RBBC, right? So the NFC Championship game is the 7th overall rushing attack versus the 5th overall rushing attack. That's the NFC Championship game. We win. Now we move on to the Super Bowl. I get it. Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts had a big game. He also scored 3 touchdowns on the ground. But what was the big part of that Chiefs offense in the second half of that game? If you think back to the show we did right before the Super Bowl, I was nervous about this individual because I thought he was going to be a guy that could make a difference and be a pain in the neck for us. Now, look, and we all know the biggest reason for the loss was Gannon's inability to do anything. But let's not kid ourselves into thinking that Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs wasn't a massive reason for that second half comeback that they had. This is a 7th round draft pick that was able to make a statement. The kid is a good running back. Is he great? Is he elite? Is he Henry, Barkley, Jacobs, Dalvin Cook? Is he what? No, he's not. But he doesn't have to be because the Chiefs have that stud quarterback, right? When you have a Patrick Mahomes and an offensive line that can stand up there, it can hide a lot of bumps and bruises. When you have a Jalen Hurts, and this is what the Eagles are betting on this year, we have Jalen Hurts, we can go by a running back by committee because our quarterback is talented enough to take care of it, right? Not to mention his own ability to run the ball. Though I would like to see him, if he's got a running back open in the flat that can get him the first down, I'd like to see him dump that off rather than going out there and risking taking the hit. Unless he can get down or get out of bounds or whatever, still want to see him get knocked around. So it's the individual running back that's being devalued. It's not the actual ability or importance of the position. Again, our running back by committee, this year we're going to go in with what? Probably 4, right? We're going to go in with Gainwell, Scott, Penny, and Swift. That seems legitimate, right? And you just, Penny might be the best running back in the room if he can stay on the field. But the beauty of a running back room with all of those guys is much the same type of, like the example I gave with Christian McCaffrey. Penny doesn't have to go out there and be the workhorse, right? He can fill his role. And I think what you're going to see is the offense have designed plays and scheme. It might be week to week based on who we're playing against, who's going to carry the load. It could just be possession by possession, series by series. Some adjustment that Nick and Brian Johnson make during the game. They see, they plan for one thing, The opposition's throwing a different look at him. Okay, let's shift it around a little bit. Swift is probably your best pass catching running back. Gainwell's still going to get his carries. Obviously, we know Boston Scott is going to be on the field versus the New York Giants. Right? You can't bench him against the Giants. He's the giant killer. That's your running back by committee, and we think we can get away with it because we have Jalen, who is throwing to Brown, Smith, Goddard, and whoever the hell ends up in the slot. There's obviously exceptions to this rule, right? The Titans with Derrick Henry, and now the Giants with Saquon Barkley. I don't know what the hell is going to happen with Josh Jacobs. I'm a little surprised the Raiders haven't taken that. Garoppolo's their quarterback, and you can clearly see, he makes the Super Bowl as the quarterback for the Niners, but the Niners were a run-first team. So I feel like he's another quarterback, like a Tannehill, like a Daniel Jones that we're about to talk about, that needs that stud. I think you can get away with running back by committee when you have the stud. When you don't have the stud, or you have a guy you think might be a stud, but you don't have the weapons, you need the running back. Okay. And so what's the common theme with Tennessee and the Giants? The lack of the real stud quarterback. Look, my friend Sam Cohen, who has been on the show a few different times, is a huge, huge advocate for Daniel Jones. Okay. And I'm not going to fault any Giants fan for backing their guy. This was the 6th overall pick in the 2019 draft. They've made a commitment to him financially, at least for the next 3 years. So as a Giants fan, you probably have to, be all in for Jones. But I don't think I can't help but think you've got to be smarter than to think Jones would be able to replicate even the mediocre numbers he put up last year if he does not have Saquon Barkley standing next to him. Who the hell else is on that team? You want to tell me Darren Waller? Right? I mean, great if he's healthy. Like, what does he miss? I forget if he's missed 20 games or played 20 games over the last 2 seasons. Both Tannehill and Jones, they've really never been anything more than mid at best, with their top seasons coming while they have that stud running back in the backfield. The Titans made a smart decision when they signed Derrick Henry because Tannehill needs him. The Giants got smart and gave Saquon, and went back and got Saquon to come back in because the Jones and the Giants, that offense is bad without him. All right. Now, the run sheet I had, this was before I saw all the incentive-laden portion of Saquon's contract. And then I saw it, later last night and into today, and I didn't have time to adjust anything. So we're going to kind of adjust on the fly here. You guys know that previously, right around the bye week last year for the Giants, Saquon turned down like a contract that would have paid him annually somewhere between $12.5 and $14 million based on incentives or whatever. He turned it down. You want to talk about a complete misread of the market. I don't understand where that thought process come from. If I'm him, I fired my agent. I don't know who was pumping his head full of you're going to get more than a possible $14 million a season in today's NFL as a running back. That just wasn't going to happen. So he ends up with a 1-year deal worth up to $11 million. Okay? So $909,000 more than what the franchise tag was. The contract he signed does not have a clause in it stopping the Giants from franchise tagging him again next season. And in order for him to even, now it does give him $2 million up front. It's a little more guaranteed cash. But in order to get that extra $909,000, the incentives that have to be hit, he has to rush for 1,350 yards, which he's never done in his career. He has to score 11 touchdowns, which he has done once his rookie season. He also has to catch 65 passes, which he's exceeded that mark once, also his rookie season. On top of all of that, the Giants also have to make the playoffs. And as it stands right now, on paper anyways, I think it's quite clear the Giants are the third best team in their own division behind us and, unfortunately, Dallas. Saquon, buddy, I'm a big Saquon fan. I hate that he's on the Giants, but I'm a Penn State fan, and I loved Saquon Barkley when he was at Happy Valley. So we saw a misread of the market with C.J. Gardner-Johnson during the offseason too, right? The Eagles offered him, a deal. He turned it down, thought he was worth way more than that. And, it turns out all those safeties, he must have been looking at the Jesse Bates deal in Atlanta and got fooled by that because, he ended up in Detroit. And now, he just had that scare on the practice field, which, English, to your point the other day, we're never rooting for some sort of career-ending injury or anything like that. But I don't have to feel bad for him either, especially with the way he talked about the fans and the people in Philly. So, anyways, I don't want to go down the CJ rabbit hole. But, misread of the market for the safety. Now you have Saquon, whose agent and his whole camp completely misread that market. When you talk about that deal he could have signed last year was worth up to $14 million at an average annual value. And now he has to hit these incentives. And even if he does, it's still not totally in his control just to make 11. Dude, look, and this is where when I teased the show, I said it was a good deal for the Giants. It's a great deal for the Giants. That makes me want to puke. But it's a great deal for the Giants. What do they get? Right? Even if he hits all those incentives and they make the playoffs, what the hell is $909,000 to an NFL team? It's chump change to them, right? It's nothing to them. It's a drop in a bucket. I think what you're going to see, and I said this to Sam this morning when we were texting about it, I said it would not surprise me, and if I was the Giants, it's what I would do. Previous to now, they've been somewhat cautious with Saquon, right? Not working him too much. Now, what's stopping them from just working him to death, right? Like, I would work that kid over and over until he had nothing left. I don't think it's a great deal for Saquon, but I think it's the only one he had. Smart on the Giants for bringing him back and giving him at least a little something to get him in the door. I think they realize they need him right now. It gives them another year with a big-time playmaker, provided he stays healthy. Gives them another year to look for some better receivers for Daniel Jones. They're going to rely heavily on the same thing you saw them rely on last year. Their skill position guys are still not that good. It's Saquon and then just kind of a ragtag bunch. Waller, if he's healthy, adds a security blanket. If he's healthy. He's not proven to stay healthy. We'll see. Overall, I don't really know that the Giants improved drastically enough to shoot by Dallas or us. But that's why they play the games. So we'll see come this season. Again, they got smart. They know Jones is in the offense is bad without him. As far as Jones goes, a lot of his supporters, his advocates, they like to talk about these huge strides he made in 2022. Yes, he turned the ball over far less than previous years. Incredibly important. But mostly they point to the 1.1% interception rate, which is good. It's really good. It was top in the league. But the problem with that is he only threw for 3,205 yards, which was 15th in the league, and only tossed 15 touchdown passes, which is 21st. And then if you shrink that list a little more to guys who actually played 15, 16, 17 games, he's at like the bottom in both. So what does that tell you? They just don't let him throw the ball. Now, he doesn't have weapons. This is true. He doesn't have an A.J. Brown. He doesn't have a Devontae Smith. He doesn't even have a Dallas Goedert. Hell, he don't even have a Quez Watkins. Okay? But they still don't let him throw the football. The next defense that people put up is the fact that he ran a lot. His rushing numbers were really good. He did have a nice season on the ground. But how does that look if Saquon's not standing right next to him in the backfield or standing in an I formation behind him or a pro set behind him? Look, if you take Saquon, here's the only point I'm going to make. If you took Daniel Jones out of there and you started Tyrod Taylor with Saquon standing next to him, how big's the drop-off really? I don't know if there even is one. If you keep Jones standing there and you take Saquon away and replace him with Breida, who's everybody keying on? Nobody's afraid of Breida, right? Everything's going to go at Jones, and if Breida beats him, then so be it. But Jones will get decked. Meanwhile, Saquon Barkley finishes fourth in rushing with 1,312 yards to go along with 10 touchdowns. Derrick Henry led the league again, by the way. Barkley also tied for the team leading receptions with 57. He is their offense, okay? That's why they had to bring him back. Credit to them for calling his bluff and making him swallow a much smaller deal, but giggity. Shame on Barkley's camp for misreading the market that badly. It's terrible. All right. Now a separate part of this whole running back thing. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Well, you know what? Before we hop, I know you guys have been a little quiet. I've been babbling on here for a bit. Let's see here. Lou Mancini. I honestly believe someone will value them again with success and the tides will turn. Maybe I'm wrong, but I believe there's a chance. There's always a chance, dude. The only issue you have now is you'd like to think the league would go in cycles, would ebb and flow back and forth. The problem you have now is they've actually tweaked the penalties and the rules of the game to benefit a flashy passing offense. So I don't know that we're going to see a resurgence there. Mike English, and I know it has no meaning to reality football, but running backs are not worth as much in fantasy. It's all about that. It's true. It's totally true. Lou Mancini, if Swift and Penny stay healthy, it's going to get scary. It could. If Swift and Penny stay healthy, that's going to be a big running back room. But we're not paying a whole lot for it. Keenan Hardman, do you really think you'll be a winner as a one-trick pony? Running opens the field for passing and vice versa. Give me weapons and I can win the war. That's beautifully said. And that's what I'm getting at. I don't think there's a devaluing of the running back position or its importance to an offense. Maybe slightly based on the rules. I think what you have is a devaluing of that number one stud running back. Whereas teams, the drop-off from a Saquon to, say, a third-round guy next year, not as drastic, right? And if you have the big-time quarterback, you don't need more than a committee of running backs that can – everybody does something specific, and you can get the same job accomplished. That's what's going on. That's my belief. And I keep hearing that same phrase over and over again, the devaluing of the running back. No, it's devaluing of, that number one guy, that Adrian Peterson, that Saquon Barkley. Those guys aren't getting paid anymore, right? And those days may be done for good. We're going to talk that here in just a second before we close it out. So the separate part of this I was talking about is Austin Eckler. He gathered the top-tier running backs on a Zoom call. From what I gather, this is in an effort to get everyone on the same page, discuss what they want to do going forward, and maybe to give the guys a place to sound off and vent or whatever. But But there's a couple of big problems with what you really think you can get accomplished at this point. All right. The number one issue, like you can talk and try to plan for things until the cows come home. But the current collective bargaining agreement doesn't expire. I think it runs through the 2031 season. That's 8 years from now. By that point, Eckler, Barkley, Jacobs, Henry, McCaffrey, they're gone. They're retired. They're not going to be around anymore. So you got to believe that at least part of this, maybe what they're trying to do, is to discuss what they can do moving forward in the short term to help themselves out, but also set up for that next collective bargaining agreement and the kids coming behind them. They're freaking 8 years away, though. The other thing is, if they're thinking they're actually going to be able to change a whole lot, obviously during the current CBA, hard pressed to see that happening. I don't really think you're going to see that. We're talking about, and I'll give you the reasons why. We're talking about one position group, right? It's the running backs. Now, it sounds like the linebackers are starting to get a little bothered too. And I think that's why you've seen, at least over the last 5, 6, 8 years, where that 10 years, that position of edge has become more of a thing. Because just calling yourself a linebacker is not enough anymore. If you can, for lack of a better way to put it, you might pigeonhole yourself into a specific role, but that specific role is pressuring the quarterback, right? And the most important positions on the field are what? The quarterback, protecting the quarterback, getting after the quarterback, right? So whether that's the defensive line or edge rushers, you got to be able to put pressure on the other team's quarterback. So this is the running back group, and like your middle linebackers might be a part of this. Do they really think everyone else, quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends, offensive and defensive line, all that stuff, do these guys really think the entire rest of the league is going to what? They're going to go on strike and cost themselves a fortune? That's not going to happen. It's just I don't see it. The biggest shame with this here, and this will be kind of we're getting down to our final thoughts here. The biggest shame here is that the NFL Players Association did not recognize what that franchise tag can do to a player, or all of a sudden rules change and it happens to an entire position group. All right. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here. Before we hop over. Oh, Stacy Rogers. Enjoying your show. I know your wife, and she told me about your show a few weeks ago. I enjoy football and a Yankees fan. Again, enjoy the show and your perspective. Well, thank you very much. You are always welcome here. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the room. Good group of folks in here. We do kind of come off the rails every now and then, but we do always like to have some fun. So thank you very much for dropping in, and thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it. Like I say it all the time, always humbled and appreciative of whatever time people give up to spend with us here on Wednesday nights. All right. So the franchise tag, and what I'm talking about here, about why you come the next CBA, they've got to put a leash on this franchise tag, or these things are going to continue to happen or get worse. Let's take a look at it from a running back perspective, because that's been the kind of the whole theme of the show tonight. Think about your top tier running backs, okay? Coming out of college. Let's use Bijan Robinson as an example, okay? So he's the 8th overall pick in the 2023 draft, and he's 21 years old. He gets his 4-year rookie deal that takes him to age 25. The club can then, because he's a first-round pick up the 5th-year option, which takes him now to 26 years old. The club can then franchise tag him, giving him the top 5, the average of the top 5 salaries at his position, which right now for running backs is slowly decreasing. That puts him to 27 years old. The club can then franchise tag him again, which should be a pay increase, would be the top 3, average of the top 3 salaries. I think the general rule they look at there is it should be 120% increase in your salary, going from the average of the top 5 to the average of the top 3. But he's now 28 years old at the end of this. At best, right? Some of these guys are 22 coming out. Now they're 20, 28, 29 years old when this is over with. You go ahead and try to find me a team that is going to give a long-term, expensive deal to a 28-year-old running back who at that point has likely been worked to death. Okay. I could do this all day for the rest of my life. You come back and let me know when you got a team that's going to give that to him. Have there been exceptions to the rule? Sure. But I think the exceptions were you didn't see those guys get franchise tagged, right? It was the end of their rookie deal, and they got a second contract, and those have been rare. Todd Gurley got it. That was a disaster. Derrick Henry got a decent deal. That has worked out. By and large, it does not make fiscal sense for an NFL team to make that heavy investment in the running back spot as a single person, a single running back. It makes far more sense for them to take, say, $3 to $4 million less per year and pay it to a committee of running backs that combined can accomplish the same results. And then they pay their quarterback, right? The idea with an NFL team is to be able to get your stud quarterback, surround him with as much talent as you possibly can, and get a ring in there before that quarterback has to get paid. That's it. So again, find me a team that's willing to take that plunge. They don't exist anymore. Look at the way Howie builds the birds. From the trenches outward. Somewhere along the line, once the salary cap went in, and the salary cap goes up every year, and I get it. But with a salary cap structure and a hard cap structure like what the NFL has, there are going to be positions that go by the wayside, that this was going to happen to. And it appears running back and linebacker are the two that this is occurring with, for the most part. Running back more than anything else. And it's more glaring with running backs because running backs touch the ball more. Okay? Obviously. So, what these guys should be trying to do, my opinion, and this will be our final thought for the night. I got to get packed up for Toronto. Reclassify themselves, right, to something that will reflect more accurately what they bring to the table. The biggest gripe you're getting out of these guys, and Deebo Samuel was listed as a wide receiver, but was running the ball. So it was kind of the opposite. What you're hearing out of running backs is, dude, I'm not just a running back. Just take Saquon last year, 57 catches. That's tied for the team lead. Albeit that's partially because they don't really have a good wide receiver, nor do they have a top-tier quarterback throwing the football. But he still caught 57 balls on top of rushing for 1,300 yards. What they are trying to prove is, and Austin Eckler's another one, big-time receiving numbers. What they're trying to prove is, I'm not just the guy you're handing the ball off to. I'm carrying a boatload of this offense. I think Saquon's number is like 60% of the offense. It's insane. So that's what these guys, if they're really going to try to get something accomplished prior to or maybe even before the CBA, the next CBA talks, they've got to try to reclassify themselves. You used to have this position called an H-back. You guys remember that? Guys and girls, you remember the H-back position? That was your fullback / tight end. There was a guy in D.C., in Washington. Chris Cooley was that role. And side note on that, I really thought that if Tim Tebow would have gone into a role like that, he could have had himself a nice NFL career. Instead, the idiot just couldn't get over himself long enough to realize he was a garbage NFL quarterback. And, here we are. Anyways, but that's what these running backs should be trying to do. Reclassify themselves into something like that. H-back, slash. I don't know what the hell you want to call it. But I think that's their best chance. But even at that, these teams may still look at it through the same lens they currently view the running backs. When you can draft guys in the third round that are maybe one tick down from, a Bijan Robinson or a Saquon Barkley, and you think you're about to pay your big stud quarterback, it just makes fiscal sense. They all believe it's the same across the board, right? Final thought for the night. Final statement. It's the same across the board that every team in the NFL is trying to do it the same way. Get the stud quarterback, and we can get rushing production that we need from a committee that costs less than an individual, right? So I didn't do the boner of the week, but we're going to name it right now. I know our good friend David Conant would like it to be the LA Chargers organization for giving Justin Herbert that massive deal. I do not believe that that's boner of the week worthy. I happen to believe Justin Herbert is a really very talented quarterback. His team has gotten, record-wise, has gotten better each year he's been in the league. He's thrown for just over 14,000 yards and 94 touchdowns in his first 3 seasons. Now, if you want to tell me he shouldn't have gotten that deal because he doesn't have an MVP award, he's not been to a Super Bowl, he's not won a Super Bowl, he's not even won a playoff game, and the only playoff game he's ever been in, they had a massive lead and then followed that up with a second half Olympic caliber collapse. Okay, I see your point. But he's the next guy up. He got paid, and now we sit and see what Joe Burrow is going to get. So, no, our boner of the week this week is going to stay tied to the theme of the week, the running back position. Our boner of the week this week is going to be the Saquon Barkley camp and his agent for completely misjudging the market for the running back for Saquon Barkley and advising him or him telling them he was going to turn it down, that $12.5 to $14 million average annual value that he was offered last year. That is the unhappy Gilmore boner of the week. And that, my friends, is going to be our final thought of the week. Y'all want to come back next Wednesday when we tell you all about Toronto and we start really talking training camp, what we're looking at, how guys are doing, and as we head towards the preseason and then things start really pumping up towards the regular season. So, for everyone in the room, Stacy Rogers, Keenan Harmon, Lou Mancini, 305 Sports Babe, Ashley, Russ Taylor, Bryant Walden, Mike English, Keenan Harmon. Who else am I missing here? Andrew Bagley, Maria. Who else came in? David Califoot. I really need to write these down as I'm going through. So, and anyone else I may have missed, I hope I didn't miss anybody else. This has been the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio, part of the Green Legion Radio family. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Come back next week, like I said, when we discuss Toronto and start bringing more football back into the fold. Until then, everyone, take care. Try to stay cool. It is going to be blistering hot out here. I'm sure that weather is headed your way if it's not there already. Stay cool. Keep hydrated. Enjoy your weekend. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And as always, go Birds. All right, everybody. I am out of here. Off to Toronto. Take care. Have a great night.